One of the great features of the GitHub website is something called issues. On the right-hand side of your repository over here, you can see there's a navigation item named issues. And if you go in there, it presents you with a screen. And what an issue is if we're thinking about GitHub from an open source code repository point of view, an issue is a place where people can describe bugs that they found in the code or suggest new features or something like that. For our own websites that we create, we can also use issues sort of as a to-do list. So if we're testing our website and we notice that there's a bug or something that we want to fix, but we haven't got don't want to do it now, we want to do it in the future, or maybe someone else needs to fix it, we can create an issue. So we go to issues here and press new issue, and it presents us with a screen like this. So an issue is made up of a couple different things. First of all, the title. So usually describe what the bug is. So let's say something like the image of Venus is too small. Something like that. So that's the title. Next up, you can write a description about your issue, give it a little bit more details. So in the website layout, the image of Venus on the left is too small to fit the column, or something like that. Now, this sort of comment area here, the description area, provides a bunch of formatting for us, and it follows the Markdown syntax, which there's another tutorial on Markdown. There's a little quick reference right here if you click the Markdown supported button. But some of the ideas that you can do are you can make a list. So you make lists by just using dashes in front of your words. You can make some words bold or italics. So if I do 2 stars around a word like that, it'll make it bold. Or maybe 1 star will make it italics. If I click on preview right here, you'll notice that it actually allows us to see what this is going to look like. Another thing you can do with issues is you can put images in here. So I have an image of the Venus, image that's too small, so I'm just going to drag it in here so I know exactly which one is broken. So if I go to preview, you can see there is the image that I'm talking about. Other things you can do is you can mention other people. So if you want to mention me as an example, which doesn't make sense because this is my issue, but I could just write my GitHub username like this, and it would send me a notification that I was mentioned in this issue. If this issue is about a very specific piece of code in our repository, we can just go to our repository up here and browse the code. So maybe I'll go into this index.html. And it's about this line right here, the venus.jpg. So if I click on the line number, that gives me a URL that specifically highlights that line. So I can copy that URL, go back to my issue, and paste over here. And now there's a link that will link directly to that line in the code, so we can sort of see exactly what's going on. One other great thing you can do in the comment box here is you can write code snippets. So maybe you know exactly how to fix that bug. You can write some snippets here, and the way that you do that is surround them by 3 backticks, which look like that. And inside of the code snippets here, you can sort of write any HTML you want. So let's do a paragraph. Now the reason we want to surround it in backticks is because if we don't, the browser, or GitHub, will not think that that's a code sample. And if you go to preview here, you can see the code sample is highlighted a little bit differently. We can actually even syntax highlight that. So if you put the language right here immediately after the opening backticks, so in this case this is some HTML, when I go and preview it, you'll see that it actually syntax highlights it. It's kind of hard to see for this one, but you'll notice that the p tags are purple, or green, sorry. And the final thing that you can do with code is you can mark chunks of code inside of paragraphs. So let's say I wanted to mark out the word code right here as a chunk of code. Maybe it refers to a div or something like that. So in here, I can just put single backticks around it. And when I preview it, you can see it highlights that as being a little bit of code nested in there. So the triple backticks allow multiple line pieces of code, where the single backticks allow sort of embedded code within. So this is what our issue looks like here. You can see we have all these different formatting things. We can do images and stuff like that. Before I go and submit the issue, is if I own this repository, I can give it a label. So say, for instance, this is a bug, and maybe I want some help from someone on my team. So I could click Help Wanted. Now I submit my issue like this. So here's my issue. If I go back to the Issues tab here, you'll see it's listed with the different labels that are associated with it. I can go and look at it now, and my issue is right here. And this has actually become a comment stream. So then people, anyone who sees this issue, can write comments. So something like, oh yeah, I know that issue. I can fix it. Like that. So I can press a comment, there we go, and we can have discussions about this issue and try and figure out what the problem is and help each other out. As soon as this issue has been completed, we want to go down to close right here. So that means that we're done with it. We've completed this task, it's been fixed, and we'll press close issue, and now it's closed. If we go back to our issue list, you can see it's not in the list anymore, but in the tab up over here, if I click on that, you can see here's a list of all the issues that have been closed. So issues overall allow us to collaborate together and have communications as well as get help, and they allow a lot of formatting so that we can sort of really describe what's wrong with the code that we're working on.